In this video, I'm going to show you an interesting effect called echo. This effect is used to push the sound a little bit back, or whenever you're using a lot of different instruments, you don't want to stack them on top of each other. That reduces the clarity of your song. So we try to add depth, and depth is all about how we perceive audio. So imagine yourself going to a valley or at some kind of a hill station. When you yell out, you hear some kind of an echo back, right? Not just at a valley, but imagine you're inside a really big hall. When I'm singing or when I'm yelling, right, I hear some kind of reflection coming back at me, reflection of the sound. That is called as an echo. An echo is when you are able to hear a discrete delay or a discrete copy of the original sound coming back at you. That is an echo, a discrete repetition of audio. Now, this echo software, we've got like a bunch of delays right here on the left hand side under audio effects. All of these are pretty much doing the same thing. There are different types of delays, however, they have different features. The reason I'm showing you echo is because echo is much better to visualize. So the basic setting that you want to do here, as soon as I throw echo on any kind of a device, this is how it's going to change the sound. Right, so it's actually doubling the notes that we are programming in, right? And it is a very interesting effect. This kind of effect has been it's being used in pop music, in guitar music. It's used with synthesizers, with vocals, with guitars, with drums. And this is a very common kind of an effect that's used across different genres. So let's try to understand a little bit more how we can control this, because right now when I added this effect, it was kind of sounding nice on its own, but when I actually added it into the song, it kind of sounded a little bit too much, right? So there is a way to control that. The problem is that echo is a repetition, which means a rhythm is going to be involved in this. And if that rhythm is out of sync with our song, then it is going to sound a little bit weird. So the first thing that we need to do here, so that we can hear the echo a little bit better and the original sound a little bit better, is adjust this dry wet setting. The dry signal is going to be the main audio. When I set it to 0%, I won't be able to hear this effect at all. As I start increasing this, you will notice how it's adding more and more repetition to the sound. Even after pausing, you can still hear a little bit of decay. It's fading out. Now at 100%, we are no longer hearing the original signal. We are simply listening to the signal that is passing through this effect. Now that is going to create a delay that we do not desire. So it's a good idea to have this effect slightly less than 50%, so that I can still hear, at 50% I can hear the main sound, the original sound, the dry sound, as well as the effect equally. But I want to hear more of my dry sound and less of that echo. Isn't that better? Now there is another way of using this, trying to sync it with our song. That way it will sound much better. Now there are a couple different settings here. First setting that you can change is notes. Now why that happens, this is again something that we will learn when we are understanding complex rhythms. But for now, Switching this to notes is going to make this delay sync in with your track a little bit better. Now it is syncing better, but the rate of those repetitions has gone down. So to increase the rate of those repetitions, we use this. We have to change this value on both left and right side. Fortunately, when you have clicked this button, both of these are the same. They are linked together. So whenever this is yellow, just click on this value and just make it more. And you can even visualize it here. As I increase it to the right, you can see there is more distance between these repetitions. When I bring it to my left and this value is becoming smaller and smaller, that means this is going to have faster repetition. And to control how many repetitions I can hear, let me just increase the volume a little bit. To control how many repetitions can I have for this song, right? Now to control how many repetitions I want, I can use feedback knob to control the amount of repetitions. You can see here those finer repetitions are being reduced. Now you only have one repetition. I have way more repetitions, but it's creating a ringing kind of an effect, right? So I might want to bring this down now. To make it sound even more interesting, we can use this effect called as ping pong effect. What ping pong effect does is it slightly delays the signal in your right hand side. So first you will hear the main signal, the dry signal, then you will hear a repetition on the left, then to the right, then to the left, then to the right, and in this process it's going to keep on getting softer and softer and softer until it dies away. Right, this ping pong makes it sound so 3D. It's a really cool kind of an effect to use with your elements. You know, it just makes it sound 3D. It makes it sound a little bit more spacey. I love this effect. And the other one that I like to use is the reverb. So reverb is going to add a little bit of reflection. So that pushes the sound further away into the mix. Now be careful when you're adding this because it might actually end up cluttering the other sounds, interfering with the other sounds. So make sure you're playing this element with the entire track and then increasing the reverb or the dry wet of this sound. If you feel like there's like a clutter happening with any of those frequencies, then you can definitely use an EQ after this. A better way of using this, especially when you're using it in such a way that the dry signal is louder than the wet signal, is by clicking this icon, and you can see there is a small EQ underneath this. Simply drag this and eliminate the lower frequencies. When you have an echo or a delay kind of an effect set on lower frequencies, it ends up cluttering your main sound, your entire track. So it's a good habit to remove the frequencies lower than 500 Hz or 300 Hz if you want. Generally, this is a sweet spot. You can use a similar effect on piano. Here is how it's going to sound on the melody. Just as an experiment, I'm also going to show you how it sounds when I'm using it with the clap. Let's hear it in the mix. This output is again going to control the volume of this echo. So that way I can have a somewhat better control over the sound. As we learn how to mix a little bit more, we will dive deeper into learning all of these plugins. But right now, all the settings that I'm showing you are good to get started. Good to get started with sound design, good to get started with just experimenting and creating your own tracks, getting inspired by all of these different sounds. And again, if you want to try out some complex sounds or if you want to try out some new variations, you can always just click on this arrow next to echo and you can try out all of these different effects. Once you find an effect that you like, just save it. You can even tweak it a little bit and then share it with your friends. You can even share that project with us so that we can go through your settings and advise you what all changes you can make to those settings to improve the sounds. I'll see you in the next video.